Hey everyone, and thank you so much for watching. Welcome to 2025, The Road Ahead. I've been spending about the last 4 months going over what economists are predicting for the next year, and we will be reviewing what happened in 2024. And on a side note, I'm really glad I'm doing this in February and I didn't do this in January because things have really changed in the last month. It's going to be a very dynamic environment. So without further ado, let's review 2024. So to review the national market in 2024, we really need to go back a couple of years to 2022 when we saw the biggest drop in home sales ever over the last 4 months of that year. And that is more than 2009 when we had the global economic crisis. The reason was interest rates. They jumped all the way from 3% in January to almost 8% in November. And I remember the first 6 months of that year was a giant happy hour. Everybody was getting super low interest rates. They were refinancing. Everybody was going $20,000 over list on their offers, and they were still getting super, really great monthly payments. Now, then inflation hit, and they had to raise interest rates, and a couple of years later, it's definitely tamped them down. We're still not where we need to be, but it really did ultimately do the job. So moving to last year, 2024, was what they called the Great Stay. That was Altos Labs making that quote, and I think it's pretty appropriate. People just stayed. They did not move very often. We had a real baseline number of people buying and selling. People were locked into those super low interest rates, and I can't say I blame them. There were very few relos across the country, and I know a lot of people in that industry that just really didn't have that much going on that year. We also had the affordability crisis, which ties in not only prices but your interest rates. And now in places like Texas, California, and Florida, we have super high insurance premiums that we get to deal with. So that's really affecting that as well. It was predicted that there were going to be at least 6 rate cuts in 2024. We got one, and that was in October, just before the election. So we didn't get the drop in interest rates that we were expecting. So it completely blew my predictions out of the water. I don't even want to look at them. It's pretty embarrassing. So what do we have looking ahead on the national market to 2025? So looking ahead to 2025, and this is what you all tuned in for, I wish I could give you better numbers, better facts, better figures. Every economist that I followed said 2025 is going to be interesting. That basically means they have no idea what's going on or what is going to be in store. It's an incredibly dynamic political environment, so rates are really going to fluctuate, and home buying and selling is really going to depend on that. It's a very dynamic market. What you're really going to want to do is just keep an ear to the rail on what rates are. If rates drop into the low 6s and you're looking to purchase, I highly recommend locking in on a mid 6s interest rate, because 2 days later it could go all the way up to 7. Looking ahead, and this is me being an absolute coward, but interest rates should fluctuate between 5.75 and 7.5%. Now, again, that is such a broad range. You could drive a truck through it, but there's a really good chance that 1 month they might be down under 6 and they might go up over 7 the next month. So it's really hard to tell. Now, what does that mean? The difference between a 7% rate and a 6% rate on a national perspective is 500,000 homes selling. So just kind of let that sink in. It's just 1% is going to cause that much of a difference in the market. So again, if you get something in the low 6s, lock it in and be happy with it. Inventory should return to normal. It's been really depressed since the early 2020s. They should be up about 10 to 15%. Sales should rise right around to historical averages. They've also been depressed. It should be around 10 to 12%. And sales prices, they're really not going to tick up all that much just because monthly payments are what they are. We're looking for at about 1.75 to 3% based on who we're talking to, which economists. So that's, again, it's a really broad prediction. I wish I could narrow things a bit more, but last year I kind of got bit with some really specific predictions, and none of them came true because interest rates just kind of stayed where they were. So onto the DFW market. This is also what you really wanted to hear about. Median sales prices have been really pretty level. They were up 1.1% from 2024. They were down 1.1% the previous year, so we are a complete push from 2022. But you also have to remember that median sales prices have gone up 40% this decade, which is pretty astonishing. It has been a significant affordability issues, and it's really hit Dallas-Fort Worth specifically just because prices went so crazy. And really, Dallas was not used to that. There's so many other markets that really they boom and they bust. Dallas never was one of those. Inventory nowadays is pretty close to an all-time high, which is really kind of surprising. It really bumped up in 2019, then it dropped, and then it crept up again. Days on market are still very seller friendly. They're under 60 days, so it's still a very, very fluid market. And what's most interesting, like I said before, prices held as things slowed down, which is something that a lot of people were not predicting. So any big drop in prices, it looks like we've averted that. Looking ahead to the DFW market in 2025, prices are probably going to be level. They may go up ever so slightly. They may drop ever so slightly. Now, this is on a metroplex level, so there are going to be certain neighborhoods that are going to be doing just fine. They're going to be going up. Others are going to be leveling off, and others are definitely going to be dipping a bit. Those are the ones that were really, really popular in the early 2020s around the kind of peripheral area outside of the loop homes that were just super popular during the COVID era. The real factors are going to be interest rates. Obviously, like I said before, the difference between a 6 and 7% rate is pretty profound. The number of days on market, that's really also going to affect pricing, because the longer a property is on the market, the more the chances are the seller is going to consider a price drop. And it's going to also really matter the buyer pool, the number of people moving to Dallas. That really, really slowed down in 2024, and it really wasn't predicted. So we're really not sure, but it looks like it's going to be a more fluid job market in general. Dallas is still a business hub, so that should actually tick up a little bit. At least that's what the people that I know who are in recruiting are saying. Sales volume is going to be really, really close to where it was in 2024, which is not a bad year. It's just a pretty normal year. Inventory may set a record high. It was at a record high in 2019, and then it dropped precipitously during the COVID lockdowns, and it looks like it's bumping up. But what's really interesting about that is days on market still really aren't that high. They are going to go up, and the more they go up, the more we have the chance of property people dropping the prices of their property. But it's really, again, going to be on a neighborhood by neighborhood basis. The normal buying season has returned. It's going to be March through August. There's still going to be home sales outside of those parameters, but that's really going to be when people are looking to buy or sell. Well, everyone, that is it for 2025, The Road Ahead. Thank you so much for watching, and I really hope you got a lot out of this. If you ever have any questions, I'm here to help. Thank you so much.